Mr. Jackson.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the October 12th, 2021 Community Redevelopment Advisory Committee meeting to order. And with that, Audrey, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Decker, Ms. Hires, Mr. McCallum,
Here.
Ms. Janet Moses. Here. Ms. Melinda Moses. Here. Ms. Spivey, Mayor Witt,
Here.
Chairman Jefferson,
Here.
and Mr. Williams.
Here.
Okay. The roll has been called and we have all been hopefully provided a copy of the minutes. Can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
So then second, all in favor of minutes as printed? Receive them by aye. Opposers, like sign. Moving to old business.
Mr. Jefferson,
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
want to approve the agenda?
Pardon me?
Did we want to approve the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
That approve the agenda is published.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, like sign. Thank you. Now moving on to old business, item 2, discussion and possible actions. The sign for Sally Mae Park. The estimates. Does anyone wants to speak to that? Brian, you have anything in addition to add to that, or would you like to speak to that? Okay.
Why should have a change, have a page, just wait on approval.
Looking at, you gave us 2 estimates, I believe it was.
Yes, sir.
And looking over those estimates, I think get it here. Total, including the foundations on one of those estimates was,
All of them included the foundation. The only thing the city will be responsible for is get power to where the pole's at, which we've already got it there in the area. So now, like I said, this sign is up in the air because the previous sign was gonna be on the ground where you can't see it because of the fences, but coming from the south going to the north, so be where you can see it, we had to put it up in the air, and that one actually got a pole cover up where you don't see the pole. Like the colors, you can pick any color, that's just the colors I chose to, put on the picture as well. I have more pictures if nobody.
I didn't get one. Is there, right, can you give us what the estimates are?
the estimates, Brian, if you correct me if I'm wrong, the total estimates on one of those signs was $58,900 total. I said 58, I meant 48,965. And on the second one, the total was $45,266.
Mr. Jefferson. Second one.
The second one was $48,266. $48,266.
And these signs are the ones that are double-sided.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Where it says Sally Mae Dairy Park, it will be a permanent, logo there, but where it's got the 3:16 PM all the way down, that's all programmable, changeable LED lettering. And like, so you can add more writing on the white part, on the pole cover if you want, or it's just something I come up with on the, Sally Mae. There won't be established dates on there too, whatever dates I'll give it if you wanted to start, if this is what you want. But yeah, you will ever see it come from north to south or south to north. That's what I had to put up in the air with it being on the ground as the previous sign was. You couldn't see it coming from the north behind the fence line of the pole. So it allows us to go 5 foot with it by the ordinance. So that's what we did.
And so it does the sign that both the signs you're saying here both meet with the city sign ordinance.
Yes, I took the
Setbacks and
Dave Young sent me stuff I forwarded to the sign company. The sign company has been the one designing and doing all this for us. All I just put recommendations and made it sign make them.
Okay, this sign is cost $48,900, was it $48,200?
I give all my estimates out every time. I don't have.
Okay, on this estimate is 48,965.
Just that sign that was, we talked about for that price.
Yeah,
Two.
I have to look back at it. There's two different signs on here.
Oh, okay.
and he gave the estimate specs along with that sign.
Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
did we ever determine a locator, position for the Welcome to Lake City sign over on the north end? Did we ever
No.
determine a site?
Oh,
for the
we
Welcome sign?
talked a little bit about that when we looked at, Mr. Young was working with somebody at the dollar store, and Mr. Warren was working with somebody right there at the, church that said we could put it right there in that area. And that would also include that $200,000 that Ms. Fields was talking about cutting trees, and that included that moving that sign farther south too, or farther north, excuse me. So that it wasn't just cutting trees, it was, move signs, everything.
If I could make a point here, because this is getting a little confusing, let's stick with if it's all right with everybody, let's stick with the sign at Sally Mae Jerry Park. Complete that action, and then we can talk about the other sign.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Mr. Williams, could this sign serve a dual purpose? One is at Sally Mae Jerry, could it serve, Adams, Welcome to Lake City sign as well? Writing, on there. Just a thought.
well, in my opinion, looking at the signs and what had been previously discussed, it serves the purpose more of a message board than it does a sign. And my personal opinion, my personal concern is this is a lot of money for a message board. I mean, almost $50,000 for a message sign. I'd be interested in knowing how the other members feel about it, but I mean, and for the benefit and the usage that we're gonna get out of it, and the location in terms of where it is. I mean, we're talking about almost $50,000, and that just for, the installation on the company's part. I don't know what in-house cost, I mean, we're gonna have to do. There's something in here that addresses what, the extent that we're gonna have to
The
do.
only thing we're responsible for is getting the wire to where the sign's at, which is, it's already there. We put it in when we put the park in.
Yeah,
Everything else from the footer up will be the sign company's responsibility for, I guess, insurance purposes. But we put the concrete foundation in and it's not right and they come do it, we're going to pay them to come back and do it. Sign falls over. First thing they're going to do is go through the footer and say it wasn't put in just right. And that's why the sign fell. So to put all the liability on the company, not the city, it's better off having to do it from the ground floor up. Now, like I said, now this is a side that I took that Thomas Henry had, and all I did was put it in the air. It was, I think it was 22,000 at that time. Put it in the air and had them do the footer work. Like I said, the city really doesn't need to be touching the footers for the sign. Now you can downgrade the signs too. Now they had different signs. This is just what was printed on that paper, and I stayed with that, other than up in the 10 millimeter part to the next size to make it makes it brighter, and you don't see the LED bulbs as bad versus the other one. You can see the bulbs in it if you got up close to it. And the reason I didn't want to put it on the ground, I didn't want nobody going by and throwing something through this, 25, if you say $25,000 sign at the time. So like I said, there's a nobody would tell what they wanted, and then this is just what I went by, what best I can find, and come up with. Now you can go with a cheaper sign, you can go with a different company, but this is one of the most reputable companies in the state of Florida. As far as they do all the stuff with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Pepsi. If something goes wrong with this sign, there's a local company here in Lake City that will repair and fix it, and we can get parts for it. It also comes with training to be able to program that sign, plus all the handhelds to program it for the city staff, which I think would be through IT.
Mr. Jefferson, maybe we can, each person voice our opinion on the sign.
yes, it's,
There's one concern about who's gonna control the messages. And then there's also, it is a historic district, that this sign is not a historic looking sign. It will, change colors and lights, and I did pull up the sign ordinance to look at it, and, I can give you one of them.
Yes. Mhm.
And I, tested the historic district part.
Now, Brian, while you're doing that, I did read something in here that didn't understand it that well. It talked about internet hookup, attachment to internet. This sign is associated with internet and have internet capabilities with this sign.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Is that inclusive in this price, or is that something extra that the city is gonna have to do?
The
to make it
the
function?
internet part is if you want to remote, what I best understand from what the guy told me is if you want to remote it from somewhere else versus going up and hooking to the sign and
Mhm.
doing it right there, then that's what that's for.
In other words, you have the ability to program.
Yes, sir. If you want to say IT from, program it from their office over there, then you would have to have internet capabilities to get it to it, Verizon, something like that. At that point, you would.
Mhm.
But with the ones they got now, this is just a cable that plugs in, you program what you want, and you're done. You have to physically go to the
You
site.
have to physically go to the sign to do that.
Yes, sir. And when I spoke with everybody, the controllers were all gonna be given to IT, and IT would be controlling what gets put on the board and what's being changed. So. As far as the historical part, like I said, all I did was take Tom Henry's quote that he had, and all I did was move it. I couldn't get no help with what nobody wanted to sign. I asked, and all I did was come up with what I thought might be best.
We understand where you're coming from.
So, but like I said, this was the same quote he had. All we did was change a little bit on it, put it up in the air because you couldn't see it behind the fence where it was gonna be.
Yeah.
It would have been basically a one-way sign then. So I mean, you're gonna do that, why pay for a two-sided sign? So if you put it up in the air, you can see it coming from the north, the south, or south to the north. And then the pole cover was a little bit extra because who wants to see just a round pole sitting out there? I mean,
Mhm.
No, that,
to me.
those things all make sense.
And like I said, down here on the white part, you can put any lettering on there. You can,
Yeah.
if you wanted to welcome to the city of Lake City or Lake City or, Gateway, wherever you wanted to put on it, that's all open. And you can change the top at the top where it says that May Park, I just thought that was the name of the park, so that would be good to put it,
Yeah.
up top. And they want to put an established date on it, so whatever date you give me to go forward, that's what we'll put on there. Like I said, in colors, you can pick any color you want. That was just,
Right.
a basic color we looked at what's down there.
I'm in agreement with the sign and where the sign looks, the appearance. I just thought it could be more than one trick party. We could do two things at one time and solve that problem.
Now, like I said, we can downsize the sign if you
No,
want.
the
Sign
sign,
big, we can bring it, a smaller, different sign. You don't get as much writing on it, but as you get smaller, the writing goes away.
I think the size is fine, it's just,
The physical sign, as this quote is, roughly 2 feet by 6 feet, roughly. Well, just about 2.5, just about 3 feet
Have to have it.
high, 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
Mr. Jefferson, I
Yes, Ms. Mo.
think a couple of things. One, back when we started talking about the sign, that we were talking about the use of the sign would be to let people know coming in to downtown Lake City, what's going on and what's going on in Lake City. So we talked about doing, it's my recollection, but I'm kind of old, so I may be wrong. But I think we voted on doing a welcome sign, north, south, east, west, coming in at each boundary
location.
of the city.
Mhm.
Not lighted up, not, anything but just a nice, like you go into other towns and you see those, that would be welcoming. And that this sign would be, we would do one, and I know we had this conversation, but I don't know if we ever voted on it, to do an LED sign north of town and south of town, because we have trouble with, we have the market and all that people coming down 90 don't know where Wilson Park is or Lusty, and that we would use those signs, to let people know what's going on in our town. So if we did a smaller sign and did one, south of the downtown area and north of the downtown area, I mean, is that even an option that would be?
All y'all got to do is with the
I
phone,
know.
make a phone call to the
Yeah,
line.
I know.
Look for it.
Yeah.
We go from there, like I said, you can get a different style sign. I mean, there's signs, don't get me wrong, there's LED signs out there. There's a lot of people like what's at the baseball, what's at high school. But the thing about them signs, technology changes over time. I was told this, they wanted the, right sign, they wanted something that looked good. And
This looks good. I'm not complaining about that.
I mean, like I said, you can shrink this sign down and have one, like I said, on the north side, and put one on the south side, exactly identical signs.
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, there's, guys and women really.
And then one person would be the person that would program it.
My suggestion was for IT to do it. They're the technical guys, the training's involved in this too, for them to do. Not that hard. I used to work for Sign Company, we programmed them.
Yeah.
And, it's not that hard, but I don't think everybody should be able to program it. Just keep it out of one person, maybe, some kind of work order or what you're gonna put on it at the time and, go from out, then they run out there and plug it in like that. We do get to the point where you want internet capabilities, signs built in with it already, so you just have to be more technical with Matt over there on that.
Mhm.
The work around it. They have to program a water meter, make this thing work.
I think we voted on doing the signs at the end, 4 entrances, north, south, east, west. I think we already voted on that. I tried to find it, but Ms. Sykes, do you remember that at all?
I remember
I
us
can look
talking,
that up.
I remember us talking about it.
It seems like.
I know, it was a
I
while
don't-
back.
Was it in this meeting or another meeting?
It was in a CRA meeting, and it was in COVID. I mean, I remember sitting here,
CRAC or CRA?
CRAC.
I can look that up.
If you would, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Because I'm almost sure we did that. And then we
Talking
kind
about ones that welcome to St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So just kind of like 4x4s, it's nice. Yeah, like they do these two, or actually sign, graphic sign, they does a lot of, if you want to do 4 corners, one sided. And, if you want to get a good one, you get a painted one, and of course, over the years, you might go back out there.
Yeah.
So you want to get one that's quite laminated. It's going to hold up in the weather for 10 or 15 years.
Talk about logo.
of,
I mean, like I said, you basically nowadays put just about anything you want on a printed sign. They digitally print everything and wrap them, and that stuff holds up in the sun, years. So, them signs would be, nowhere near expensive as these.
Yeah.
You would $50,000, I'm sure you could buy all 4 and still have money left over for something else. And something like that, the city staff could go install if it bears down to it, but it's just 2 poles and set it up. But like I said, this right here, if we have them put the footer in, or we put the footer in, something goes wrong with that sign, it falls out and you go to 441, their first thing they're gonna do is come back and say this footer wasn't constructed because there's certain rebar in certain spaces, rebar in this area, this area. If we don't do it exactly right, the city's gonna be liable for falling over a car, something like that. To me, I would think we just want them to come in, turn key it, had power right in front of the go. So the fence is basically like 42 inches tall, I believe. So the white part would go just a little bit over that, and your sign would be right on top of that. Like I said, you can shrink it if you want to touch into the thing, but I was just trying to keep people from going by and hitting it, reaching up there and slapping it. Like I said, sky's the limits, or like I said, we can downsize it. You can go with just a plain LEDs, or plain just black and it's got red writing on it. Painted, that's all the colors it is. That would be something like, you go to the back north where you come into the backside of the South Girls Complex.
Mhm.
We got one right there. There's one hanging on Columbia High School. School board's kind of got a nice a little bit more. But
Well, I think this covers 2 things, because we're going to do a sign for the park, to name the park. But, and this kind of hits both those. And I'd like to see an LED sign, north and south of town, because I'd like for everybody coming in.
in my sense, too, you can change your colors on this. You ain't got to have every color in the world out there blooming. You want to, once they program it, they're going to program it. If you just want white and red, or if you just want, say, if you like 4th of July, red, white, and blue, or, something like that, you can program your colors what you want.
Mhm.
a lot of money, but in the long run, 10 years down the road, this sign's still gonna be there looking. Something goes wrong with it, this company's one of the top companies all over the United States. They do stuff that require it.
And if they do two signs, maybe they would cut us a deal.
That would be the fact, you know, that, Cody, the guy I'm dealing with, is when you do it. I mean, if you're gonna put signs up, this kind of, if you want this, you know, this to stand out, you know, you want to go with some kind of sign.
I have one question, and that is, do we have funding availability, for this?
Well,
Go ahead, Mayor.
I think that's something that we need to do is, you know, we talked about that with Kellums and, all the other things we were talking about is looking at the CRA fund to see where we're at, that's what we have and what we've obligated to already. So I think that should be part of this. So I think we need to do that before we actually commit to doing the sign.
Well, as the new person here, okay, and again, I don't know as much as many of you. I don't know how much money we have. I've just heard about several things. I know we have a commitment coming up to, the Sweetwater project that we have to fund. I know we've got, this sign. I've heard about some other projects. What I would probably like to see would be a list of the projects that we have within the plan and what we've already committed to as far as funding. And then that way we know as we go along what we can fund and what we can't fund at some particular time, or we can turn around and say that we need to raise more money or get more money to do more things. I think the sign looks great. I think it's a great idea. But I think we need to get a report of available funds and what's encumbered and what's not.
And what grants are out there and what they're
Yeah.
tied up for. And I think that's what we need to do within the next month or so, we just kind of get all that together. And then we can come back to this.
Now, one thing I do want to keep in mind, that second quote on that other sign being in the air, at the time we was gonna put it on the ground, so I had to went ahead and got 2 quotes for a sign. If you put it up in the air, you can go with a little bit cheaper sign, but you're not gonna be right up on the LED bulbs. That's what changes in the pricing of the sign. Is if it's on the ground and you get close to it, you can see more of the bulbs.
Right.
So when you're putting up in the air, of course, now the vision's farther away, so you're not gonna see the bulbs as much as if it was down on the ground.
Well, I think that if you're gonna do a sign, the sign needs to look nice, and you need to have it up at a level where people can see it. I don't think you wanna go so cheap that it's sitting on the ground, and if people wanna see it, they gotta get down on their hands and knees and look at
And
it.
like I said, with it being in the air, you're really not gonna tell the difference in either one. So like I said, the difference in the 2 signs is the LED bulbs in them. They get a little bit smaller with more resolution to them. So when we was gonna put it on the ground at the time, we didn't want to see the bulbs if you get close to it. But with it being in the air, you're not gonna see them anyways, because it's a farther distance. I mean, so it's just like going to the baseball field looking at theirs. You're not gonna see the bulbs.
I know you don't know the exact number, but is it a substantial change to change those 2, you think?
You mean on the 2 quote? So,
The,
There's only about a $4,000 or $5,000 difference in the 2 quotes.
yeah, with this stuff. We're gonna do it, right? We're gonna do it, right? But I think we need to find out what money we got and then kind of regroup.
I agree with that. What, the comment from our interim city manager there, we do need to research or look at our funding source, see who we have appropriate funds, and if not, where we're gonna get it from. And then we can come back and address this, because it's not, very profitable, I guess, to address this and then talk about the cost if you don't have the funds to support it.
And like I said, the original quote was like 25,000 for it being on the ground, but that was city doing foot of work, city doing quite a bit more work, and more research into the sign. We actually had a guy come bring signs. We looked at them and that told him more about the liability, that's why the price went up, putting it up in the air, with the pole cover and the old sign didn't have the sign made on top of it, that you can, like I said, change that if, but
Well, no, I think those things are fine. I think that, having somebody put the footer in so that there's no liability to the city, putting the name of the park on there, all those things are well worth the money. My only thing is that I'm uncomfortable on voting for something until I know what funds we have available, what's encumbered, what's not. And, as far as the sign itself, if the committee is agreed on the sign, they can approve the design of it, or they cannot. Okay, that's up to them, but, then we could just, once we do that portion of it, we could just hold off on it until the next meeting where we can come back and see what the funding is.
Could I ask you a question, Mr. Jefferson?
Sure.
The TIF funds that I know for this year, for 2020, were in our thing worth, 313,000. I know that, I was told that this year, the TIF funds that we get in October, usually it's like 200 and something, 40 something that we've gotten in the previous time, that it might be less. Are you aware of any of that? Those TIF funds are gonna be less?
They could be less because of the hospital closing.
Uh-huh. How much less do you
I don't know.
have any? Because that's what the funding was gonna be for these signs, would be to come out of, CRA funds, TIF funds. So,
Well, we can research that and, get answers on that. And, I'm assuming we meet monthly. So we can have all the answers to this by the next meeting.
And we kind of know what this sign costs. I appreciate you getting those numbers and all, and so then we know what we're working with on all of it. So I think we're gonna be ready next time.
could you, Brian, if you don't mind, if you could just ask them if we did do a two-sign deal, what would that be? And the other sign would probably be smaller, because we wouldn't be putting a park name on it unless we wanted to do that. But you could get.
well, you could use this sign on the south end as your welcome to Lake City sign up to where Side May Park is. You can put welcome to Lake City and that sign would utilize.
The same thing.
Like I said, we can take that off too, but I mean, you can do what you want.
Okay.
If you want one person to go down that way for the high school, you know, you can color it.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Okay, moving along, item 3. The
Yes, Wilson Park.
Wilson Park update,
Yes, sir.
Mike Williams.
Basically on the Wilson Park update, the group met, we're evaluating project management, applications for, the next stage of grant funding, which is in place, which I believe takes in the band shell and some other items. I'm reviewing that now, but, we hopefully will, lock that in the upcoming next few days and be able to move forward, with that. And so that's where we are right now, but we've been evaluating. We had to check on, we only got one proposal for administration, project administration on that. And so we're doing some things for there and checking on some things with DEO to make sure that that is appropriate with only one, since there was only one that applied. It appears to be in order. We're looking at some other things in there with that, but we should have, be finished with our review of that this week.
Exciting.
Are y'all aware of the November 20th bicentennial Columbia County program they're having?
Ms. Phillips had mentioned it.
That's coming up. Me and Ms. Phillips had a meeting last night, and they're gonna each decade for all 200 years, so it'll be 20 booths doing that. And they're gonna have a dance Friday night, Saturday night, fireworks, cakewalk. Terry's got how many vendors and all?
Right now, 52 craft vendors.
craft vendors, and then food vendors is gonna be,
There's 8 to 10 food vendors so far.
so that's gonna be a good time to check out the parking.
Are they advertising? Are they doing big, who's putting it on? Who's doing that?
Chris Essing is the one that's really promoting it, and Skip Johns and his wife Linda are getting all the DJs together. They're gonna have a big variety of music. Good, good event.
And it's gonna go all the way from a Lusty Park down the road to Wilson Park. They're gonna have like canoe races, all that. Bunch of different things, really fun things.
What was the date on that? 16th,
The 20th of November.
20th of November?
It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
It starts 10 a.m. and it'll go well into the evening because there's fireworks.
Anything else on, Richmond Park?
That's all I have, sir.
No questions or further concerns on Wilson Park? We move on to new business. Item 4, discussion and possible actions on the privacy fence for Sally Mae Jerry Park.
Brian, please.
Need all the fence go up. Contractor, fence contractor. 2 weeks and a half weeks. Put the fence up.
Okay, so that's gonna be done by contractor.
Yes, sir. We'll tear the fence down, get it prepped up, ready to go, land, with a little bit of land work we got to do right there. Then the, fence company would come in and install it right behind us, but we're waiting on their time frame. So we don't tear the fence down and there's nothing between the park and the house to sit. We can have all the materials in hand already, fence company's already, you know, said, we're just waiting on their. Maybe they said, let's do 2.5 weeks. That was last week. I would say, hope by the end of next week, the fence should be starting to go up, and he said 2 days to that fence done.
So the fence is already in hand. We already.
Yes, sir, he's sitting out there at Public Works, barn at it right now, wrapped up on pallets on the trailer, so we're just waiting on the, contractor to give us the exact date he's gonna start. We'll tear the whole privacy fence down, haul it off, clean it up right there, and then they'll come in and spring line and put their, fence up, our fence up.
Okay.
What's a privacy fence for?
It's the, I guess what they got it for, to divide the park from the house is sitting right there. There's an old wooden privacy fence there now, it's fallen over and, looks really bad. So the city's gonna take that, but I'm best understanding the city's taking that fence up, and we're putting this new plastic brown style fence inside there now that it will be there.
So it doesn't block the highway or
No, ma'am, it'll
you
be,
can't hide behind it or?
no, ma'am, if you look on the picture where you see where the black fence stops right there on the side of Marriott, it starts right there and it runs back behind the bathrooms, the stage, anything like that. Goes down and connect in. Well, I assume it's gonna be where the parking lot's gonna be at one point with vacant lots sitting there. But it's, like, there's already a privacy fence there. It's just taking down that old wooden one that's falling apart and, you know, reinstalling this fence that you can press and wash, bring a little bit of bleach on there, it stays clean, you don't gotta go back and stain it. You know, it's there for sure.
So the parking lot would be behind the fence later?
No, it's just gonna stand down to where the parking lot, I'm assuming that's what I've always heard is that where the old house was, that's gonna be a part. Now, you could extend it down later on and that's what you wanna do, go all the way down to the end of it. It's, you know, again, like I said, sky's limits. So I've got it coming in on this on the tail end, so I'm trying to get it.
So at this time, we do not have access, as I was told, through that parking lot area. And the other, that's not out.
And it, like I said, it's, kind of an eyesore right there too right now because it's stuff's piled up in that vacant lot. People that have come to the park, it's not really open yet, but people have been in it, are parking across the street onto somebody else's property, right there where the, I guess that's a mechanic shop now, used to be a trailer company years ago.
Yeah.
So they're parking over there and walking across the road, which is kind of dangerous walking across the road, trying to get to a park, have a little kid walk in there or something like that.
Do we have any park management?
I mean, we're mowing it, keeping it clean, steady doing work over there, but, I mean, we got the gate shut, but, you know, people do go in there. they hop over the fence, they do this, they do that. So,
Well, it's not officially open yet, the
no,
park.
sir, but I
I
said,
mean, we
we have caught people in there, and we asked them to leave, and they do leave, you know, we had no incidents or nothing like that. But like I said, we can't, it's hard to be up there 24 hours a day to keep everybody from.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're parked across the street, and, you know, coming across or walking down sidewalks. Like I said, there is no parking right now.
Well, the parking issue is another issue that we're working.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about,
More to follow on that.
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay. Thank you for that update, Brian. No one else has any further questions or regarding Saturday River Park? We'll close that section. Anything else any other members would like to bring up appropriate for this meeting?
Just one quick thing, just something to think about. Once we get our, TIF money and know how much we've got, we did a project, several years ago with facade grants, our CRA did. And we offered $5,000 and someone had to pay 75% of that. And I mean, 25%, and then we would pay 75%, up to $5,000. And mostly it was awnings and painting, and I think it really had an effect on downtown. So talking about going past the downtown signs up to 100 and down to Baya, offering maybe, just a thought, offering facade grants for those two areas to kind of spruce up things.
Yeah.
If they're interested. And that would depend on how much money. I think we budgeted 50,000.
I think that's what it
I
was.
think that's what it was.
$50,000 for that. And it really made a difference.
It did.
It was beneficial.
It got used quite, it got used quite a bit. I think it encouraged people to do something.
Yeah.
So that's just a
And
thought once we get our money.
Once we look at the money, I mean, I would be in favor of offering that as an incentive, you know, to these, both the north end and as well as the south end, because it was really beneficial for the downtown area. A lot of people tapped into it, a lot of people used it, and it was beneficial. I think it's worth an opportunity or try for the north and south end as well. Yeah. Future topics. If any of the committee members for our future upcoming meetings, if you have topics or anything you'd like to be placed on the agenda, if you would either notify myself or preferably Audrey or Terry, you know, we'll be sure that they get on there. It's not just my agenda, it's for the committee. So if you have some thoughts, some things, some concerns that you want to place on the agenda, just contact Terry or Ms. Sykes. Okay. With that being said, our next meeting will be, I don't know whether the
November 9th.
will fall on a Tuesday or not, but second Tuesday of next month. And with that being said, we stand adjourned.
Have coffee over at your place.